where does that money go? Because we are not exactly seeing very clean streets, are we? A typical example is that here in Accra, 250 people have been hired by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, even though some persons are being paid out of our District Assembly Common Fund to sweep the same streets that these 250 people sweep. So where's the dividend of that work? But that's where the real problem is, isn't it? Because since the year 2013, we have accrued a debt of about 1.6 billion Ghana cedis to Zoomlion Ghana Limited for street sweeping contracts. I'm sure you're getting interested now. 1.6 billion Ghana cedis. A commitment that government has made since 2013 that we understand has no paper backing it. Justin Koduah is the chief executive of the Youth Employment Agency, and he's on the line to explain some of these things to us. Good morning, Mr. Koduah. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning, Charles.
In the first place, can you confirm that since 2013, Zoomlion has been working in this country without a paperwork backing the work that they've been doing? On that, in the terms of street sweeping.
That question is a big misleading question. You need to be specific. In terms of street sweeping, in which category? As in with that relationship with the assemblies or the relationship with the Youth Employment Agency?
I'm speaking of the relationship with what was JIDA and is now the Youth Employment Agency.
Perfect. Then I'll have to go as far back as in 2006 to explain the whole arrangement for people to really understand. In 2006, there was a management agreement between the government of Ghana and Zoomlion Ghana Limited to do a pilot on street sweeping and also collection of refuse. And the contract was for 3 years. That is between 2006 and 2009. Between 2009 to 2011, from our records, we did not cite any contractual arrangement. But however, in 2011, there was an agreement between the government of Ghana and Zoomlion Ghana Limited, which elapsed in 2013. And the issue has been from 2013 to 2017 that, yes, there was no proper documentation as in documents which is signed by the government of Ghana and Zoomlion Ghana Limited with respect to work that they are supposed to do.
How much money has been paid out in that period?
For that one, it is difficult to state here because the figures come from different areas. But there are some that were paid from District Assembly Common Fund, and there are also some that were paid through Ministry of Finance.
Can you share with us the figures that were paid from the District Assembly Common Fund?
Again, with respect to matters in before the 2017, the figures are not readily with me.
Can you confirm that the total monies that have been accrued in terms of this contractual obligation amounts to 1.68 billion Ghana cedis?
That is from which time period?
That's from 2013.
What we can do is that from 2013, the number of beneficiaries under the model was 45,000, and if the cost per each beneficiary was 500 cedis, then we can do the calculation.
Okay, in the year 2016, then policy advisor for the NPP, Boache Jako, addressed the news conference when he stated that the cost at that time was 448 million. When you came into office, did you check this figure and verify it?
As far as I'm concerned, there was a cabinet directive in 2016 for Auditor General to undertake certain exercise to verify the claims by Zoomlion Ghana Limited with respect to how much government is indebted to that company. And as I speak to you now, we have not had a report from that claim.
In February 2019, was Zoomlion's work extended by your office?
If you recall, there was a press conference that the agency did in February 2018. And at the press conference, the agency highlighted several challenges that existed, i.e., prior to 2017, there was no proper documentation with respect to the relationship of the Youth Employment Agency and the service provider. And between period of 2011, even up to 2017, payments were even made without recourse to Youth Employment Agency, which we found it to be very strange and wrong. Also, recruitments were done without recourse to Youth Employment Agency. There are some instances where you cite letters from Ministry of Youth and Sports asking the service provider to recruit this number of people. There are some from the assemblies requesting the service provider to recruit this X number of people. There are even some from local government ministry and even just assembly common fund. Again, we also realized that there was no collaboration between the Youth Employment Agency, which is a key stakeholder in the sanitation industry, and the district assembly and the district assemblies. Again, we also realized that even with the original contract that was signed in 2011 to 2013, we found out that the scope of work was not clearly or properly defined. And another issue that you also cited was that in terms of payment structure, beneficiaries were being paid 100 Ghana cedis, and the service provider was paid 400 Ghana cedis. But the 400 Ghana cedis was not very clear as to what constitutes fees for logistics and also fees as management fees or as administrative fees. So those were the challenges that we saw. And again, the agency stated that in order to ensure competition, we needed to open up for competitive bidding, and that June 2018, the agency would have opened up for other companies also to come in and go through the competitive process. But somewhere May, we received a letter from the service provider Zoom Lion Ghana Limited to the extent that per their records, they have contracts with the agency, and if the agency is desirous of terminating the contract, then the compensation and also amount owed them should be paid. For us, we were of the position that since there was no proper contract between us and them, there was no really a contract between us and Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, and therefore we were right per our press conference that we did in February that by June we are going to open up. But just to satisfy ourselves with the letter that Zoom Lion Ghana Limited sent to us, we gathered all the documents that was in our possession between 2006 up to then date, and we forwarded it to Attorney General for advice. And we received a letter from Attorney General in July 2018 stating that per the arrangement which existed in 2013 and the conduct of the two parties, the contract automatically renewed itself because it was a 2-year contract. So therefore, between 2013 and 2015, there is a contract, and 2015 to January 2017, there is also a contract. And per that analysis, the contract between them was to come to an end in February 2019. So during the period after we received the letter from Attorney General, Cabinet, under the chairmanship of His Excellency the President, constituted a Cabinet subcommittee on sanitation to review all sanitation arrangements between the government of Ghana and Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, including the YEA sanitation model. And we conducted the head count to ascertain the actual numbers which were working. And after the head count, it was agreed that yes, we needed to open up and go through the proper process to make sure that there are proper documentation. And again, things that we highlighted in our February 2019 press conference, there needed to be an improvement. And following the directive from the Cabinet Subcommittee, the agency wrote to Public Procurement Office to authority to get permission that within the short time of us inviting other competitors or inviting those service providers to also express their interest in managing the sanitation model, we cannot leave the whole sanitation model unattended to. And therefore, there needed to be a stopgap period whereby at least the whole sanitation arrangement will go on. As you can attest to, sanitation is a major critical issue. So we are in that period whereby we are looking at how we can open up for other service providers to come in. So if you look at May 15, 16, 17 dailies, to be specific, Daily Graphic, Daily Guide, and Ghanaian Times, we did an advert requesting for companies to also express interest in the sanitation model. So that is where we are now, and definitely once we have received proposals from the various service providers, the agency is going to look at it and at the end of the day do what is necessary.
In February 2019, did you extend Zoomlion's contracts with government?
Yeah, and that's what I stated, that because we didn't want to leave a vacuum, because to open up for other competitors to come in, it will take time. You have to go through expression of interest. After expression of interest, you have to shortlist the consultants. After shortlisting, then you have to invite them to resend their RFP. You have to evaluate the proposals. You have to seek concurrent approval from ETC and central tender and public procurement activity. This is going to take time. So per discussions with Public Procurement Authority, they indicated to us that all these processes can be done within 6 months. So the contract was extended for 6 months so that we can go through all these processes.
But these are commitments you made last year that you would indeed do all of this work from February 2018 so that you can end your contractual obligation with Zoomlion in June 2018. So why was that not done then? And
that's why I stated that the letter from Attorney General, if the principal legal advisor is telling you that the arrangement, the contract will come to an end in 2019, what am I supposed to do?
But you wrote for the advice in June. You made the commitment in February. Why?
Because as at that time, per our understanding, we knew the whole arrangement could have ended in June 2018 until we received a letter from Zoomlion Ghana Limited disputing that indeed there was a contract between us and them. And to clear doubt and also avoid any litigation, that's why we wrote to Attorney General for advice.
So between February and May 2018, what happened?
Between February, May, and us in June, we were in the preparation stage to go ahead to open up for other competitors to come in.
Sorry, please restate that for me.
I said between May to June, we are in the preparative stage to make sure that we get other competitors to also come in.
So when Zoomlion rose to you and said that they had a contract, did you get a copy of that contract that they had?
And if you recall, I stated that per the letter they sent to us, yes, they attached the whole contract to us, and per the document that we also had, we forwarded everything in our possession to Attorney General for advice.
And this contract that they attached was the 2011 contract?
Exactly so.
In 2013, on advice of the president, on instruction of the president, then Sports Minister, Youth and Sports Minister Elvis Afriya-Ankra wrote a letter to Zoomlion to terminate that 2011 contract. So how could it have been valid in 2018?
So if to go back to the question that you raised, if the contract was terminated in 2011 or 2013, how come government was still paying them in 2014, 2015, 2016 if the contract was terminated?
You tell me.
No, but you asked, and I'm also telling you.
But
because
Mr. Koduah, you are in government.
Yes, so that's why I said when we came in, we realized certain things was not right. And if you want to appreciate what has transpired between 2017 and 2019, there have been several changes which has gone on, which hitherto did not exist. One, as I speak to you now, with respect even the 6 months contract that has been given to Zoomlion Ghana Limited, For the first time, everything that the agency is doing, we are doing it in collaboration with the assemblies, which did not exist in the past. And again, with respect to what is considered as management fee, the agency has reviewed it. Right now, there's a difference between management fees, logistics, and beneficiary allowance. Beneficiaries say that we were being paid 100 Ghana cedis. Now we have reviewed it to 180 Ghana cedis. Again, in the past, payments were made without even recourse to the Youth Employment Agency under Amaya administration. Right now, even before payments are made, it has to be authorized by the agency before payments are made to the service provider. Moreover, looking at the circumstances and where this whole sanitation issue started, I believe that we have made huge progress in trying to review the operational manual or the operational structure of the whole sanitation model.
Mr. Koduah, some work has been done and we acknowledge that. But you see, we are trying to measure it against the timelines that you gave us last year so that we have a greater understanding of the work that is being done now and move forward. You see, the Attorney General told you, from what you just told us, that in June 2018 that there was this automatic renewal. However, the Attorney General advised in 2013. He advised, then Attorney General advised that the contracts be allowed to run and end in 2015. So, on what basis does it automatically renew itself beyond 2015 if you are going by the Attorney General's advice?
Definitely, if you have a contract with a person which has a renewal clause, per the conduct of the two parties, if, let's say, for 2015, definitely there should be a clause in it which states that you must give prior notice that by this date, the agency is not interested or the agency does not intend to renew that contract with you. Then both parties are clear in their mind. But if by the expiration of the date on 2015, the service provider continues to work, and as a government you continue to pay them, then definitely there is a contract. So that is why I stated that if indeed it was the position of the government then that the contract between the government and the service provider should expire in 2015, then there should have been a written notice to the service provider even before the expiration of the date in 2015. And the government should not have gone ahead to make certain payments to the service provider in 2015, 2016.
So if I may, knowing this, when you came to power, and I mean you came into office, Mr. Koduah, and you made that announcement in February, after which Zoom Lion released a statement welcoming your decision. And I just have that BFT publication here, welcoming the restructuring of YEA sanitation model. You wrote to Zoom Lion to terminate the contract?
Between that period, June 2018, as at that time, we were on the belief that there was no even a contract because it was based on conduct. And that June arrangement, and as you rightly stated, when this whole press statement was made, Zoom Lion came out to state that it supports any innovations and any policy of the government that seeks to enhance sanitation industry in the country. But then again, we received letters from them that indeed there was also a contract between us and them, and because we were not sure, that's why we sent it to Attorney General for advice. And speaking about this also, right now that we have also requested for service provider to show their interest in managing the sanitation model, definitely from August going, the whole arrangement will change. There will be proper documentation to it as we have now.
You see, Mr. Koduah, it's interesting because in one breath we talk about automatic renewal, in one breath we talk about how government continues paying, government has the right to renew a contractual obligation, terminate a contractual obligation. On the other side, we talk about how there's no documentation, this thing is not organized, this thing is not covered by any proper. So, for instance, after February 2018, on what basis are we still paying monies to this company?
After 2018,
yes,
definitely is by conduct. If for instance, you hire a cleaner to sweep your house, and there's an arrangement between you and him that the contract is supposed to end maybe in 2 years' time, and in 2 years' time the person is working, definitely you have to pay for the work the person has done. And more so, you see, this whole issue about sanitation model it has been a very complicated and very delicate one, because when we took over administration in 2017, we needed to even understand what was really happening, because certain documents that we even requested, we couldn't get them, because the agency between 2011 and 2016 and 2017 even had no knowledge of what was even happening. So we needed to take certain bold decisions and certain steps to, with the support of our sector minister and the board, to make sure that we rectify it and do the right thing, at least for now, if not for anything. For within this short period that the service provider is working, there are documentation to it as to what he is doing, how much we are supposed to be, how much is supposed to be paid, and even when to pay. At least now, I can confidently say that we are not paying something like just 400 cedis as management fee. There's a distinction now between what constitutes management fee logistics, which can be verified before payments are made. And this is why all are done to ensure there is due diligence and we protect the public purse. Something which happened in the past that we felt. And it was the reason why Mr. Boache came to make that publication. And I can tell you that what is the situation now? Has things improved or not? Is our issue about how it exists now or how it existed then? So in terms of payments that were made in the past, for us as an agency, our hands were very tight, because one, in 2017 that I became the CEO of the agency, I had no document on the number of beneficiaries that were working for the service or were working under the sanitation model, because they were not recruited by YE. So in that case, how will we be able to challenge even those numbers? But as I speak to you now, recruitments are being done by Youth Employment Agency, even the advert that we did somewhere in Freeway for people to apply. Now I can confidently say, when at the end of the day, Jim Lyon brings his report, I'll be able to verify, because the numbers are from YE, and we have the details of the beneficiary, which hitherto did not exist.
Speaking of details of beneficiaries, and Mr. Koduah, you asked the question, have things improved? For the sake of our listeners, I'd like to place emphasis on that question, because we would have to come back to that very, very shortly. But you did it.
Let me say certain things, situations that existed and what have been done. Maybe probably when our listeners will appreciate it.
Well, I've not come to that question yet.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm listening to you. Should I go on?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before 2016, these were the facts. That one, the recruitments were done without the involvement of YE. Two, there was no proper scope of work defined under the previous contract. Three, there was no monitoring mechanism to check the work of the beneficiaries and the service provider. Four, there was no appointment letters for beneficiaries recruited. 5, the 100 cedis allowance that was paid to beneficiaries was considered as unacceptable. 6, the YEA could not verify beneficiaries who have been paid and those who have not been paid. 7, the YEA could not ascertain the 45,000 beneficiaries, because we always had to rely on what is provided by the service provider. Also, there was no collaboration between the YEA and the local assemblies to avoid duplication of work and payment to the service provider. Again, looking at all these issues, this is what the agency have done. 1, now recruitment have been done by the agency. 2, there is a collaboration between the agency and the assembly, and the scope of work that currently the service provider is using was based on what was submitted to us by the assemblies. And 3, also, we have also introduced monthly timesheets based on which beneficiaries will be paid. Again, we have increased the allowance of the beneficiary from 100 to 180 Ghana cedis, and also the service provider. There has been a distinction between what constitutes management fee and what constitutes logistics fee. And logistics fees will be paid after the agency has verified that indeed these items have been supplied, and in that same vein, indeed we can attest to it that it's being used for the purpose that it was bought for. So these are the improvements that we have brought. In terms of the legal regime, previously there was no proper documentation, but by conduct, if someone has done work for you, which you can attest, definitely needed to pay. But as I speak to you now, there are documentation between our arrangement and the Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. And per the commitment that we also made in February 2018, we have opened up for people to express their interest, which companies have submitted their proposal or their request or their interest to us. And we are going to go through the process and make sure that at the end of the day, there is value for money and the purpose is done.
Mr. Koduah, you mentioned about 8 gaps that existed in the arrangement with Zoom Lion. Were all of these detailed in that contract that Zoom Lion produced in May 2018?
No.
So if all of these were not detailed there, can we not then say that the contract has already been breached?
There's a difference between asking for a review in a contractual arrangement and also saying that nothing has been done. As a businessman, perhaps he will bring his bill to you that I have done this work. But at the end of the day, it is upon us as protector of the public purse to check and see whether those work has been done or not. So if you signed a contract which did not give a specific scope of work, you signed a contract which in itself did not have a control mechanism or monitoring mechanism to check whether the work is being done or not. At the end of the day, what does you expect to happen?
Well, you just told me that
like I stated, there were several challenges with how things existed, and they needed to be an improvement. But we cannot also deny the fact that the service provider has been working. But the issue has been to what extent, and how do you verify and check the work that has been done? And that is why I believe in the mindset of the then cabinet in 2016, they asked Auditor General to come in to verify all those claims.
Well, that was not the only time that a committee had been set up or a body had been commissioned to verify some claims, because the JIDA committee initially found that, by Zoom Lion's own admission, and I'm quoting from the committee report, the cost of a fully fitted tricycle is 1,200 Ghana cedis. They are replaced every 2 years. The total number of tricycles in circulation, less than 10,000. About 6,000 to be precise. Even assuming 10,000 tricycles, Zoom Lion requires only 12 million Ghana cedis every 2 years to replace them, but charges the Ministry of Youth and Sports through your agency 37.5 million Ghana cedis, an excess of over 25.5 million Ghana cedis. You are aware of this?
You know, it is very simple and easy to churn out these facts and these issues out. But in terms of practicality, and in terms of appreciating what even exists on the ground, for us before the 2017, the best way to understand and also to ascertain the claims that the service provider made is for a proper audit into all those matters to resolve whether, one, the work was done, and two, if it was done, to what extent. And these are certain things that go even beyond youth employment agencies. It is something that Auditor General has to come in and various stakeholders have to come in to verify all these issues and to bring finality to it. But at the end of the day, we couldn't have allowed what we complain as not being right to continue to exist. And that is why there has been changes now. So unless you want me to go back and answer certain things which has happened in the past.
I was simply asking if you're aware of this. I've not asked my question yet.
No, I'm not aware of that.
So you were not aware of the JIDA report that was published?
I'm not aware of the figures that you are talking about.
So you are not aware of the fact that we paid 25.5 million Ghana cedis in excess for tricycles?
Well, what I'm aware of is that in 2016, Cabinet ask the Auditor General comes in to verify all claims by Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. For that one, it's something I really know.
Mr. Koduah. Mr. Koduah.
Yes.
Have you read the JIDA report on Zoom Lion?
Yes.
I just read you a quote from the JIDA report. You said you're not aware of it.
Yeah, because the figures that you are talking about has nothing to do with what we are talking about with respect to changes that have come in. Or unless maybe you want to choose and pick, then why don't you read all aspects of the JIDA report as a whole? Because I'm finding the questions very strange. Because if indeed there was a JIDA report and the previous government per its cabinet directive asked that Auditor General should verify all those claims, why don't you wait for Auditor General to do his work and to ascertain whether indeed issues as has been claimed exist or does not exist? Because they are not going to help our discussion. Because if at the end of the day we do not allow for the state institutions to do it and bring its findings that per the claim by Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, we realize that this is true, this is not true. But if you are going to choose and pick, then we are not going to have discussion or to find solutions to the problem that exists. I can agree with you that certain things happened in the past which was not right and which needed to change and which we have changed. That is the best way to go about in resolving the issue. So why don't you also throw a challenge? So that at least we are for once we are able to ascertain all the issues or the claims that concern the sanitation model.
Well, Mr. Koduah, I was asking the question because, like you said, we must really respect and look at the work that state institutions do. The JIDA committee was a cabinet-sanctioned committee that was doing this work, and they found that we had paid an excess of 25.5 million Ghana cedis. The lawyers, and that's not the only place that we paid. This is on page 131 of the reports. The lawyers will tell you that this alone constitutes reason enough for us to end our relationship with this institution, whom we have extended our relationship with on 2 occasions under your watch.
And I perfectly agree with you that yes, there was a JIDA report, and which year was the report published?
2013.
2013.
Yes.
And in 2013, the same government that published the JIDA report continued to deal with the service provider. Is it so? And the same government in 2016 stated that there needed to be an audit of the claims by Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. So why this back and forth?
But so in 2016 November, Mr. Koduah, you were clear on the facts that there was a fraudulent arrangement between then government and Zoom Lion. You referred to the JIDA committee report at the time. You came to you extended our relationship with this company.
He said there was a fraudulent, and the fraudulent was determined by which court?
Well, I'm simply speaking the position of the then opposition, Mr. Boache, who was then policy advisor. Okay, then at least you have paraphrased as well, because you say a fraudulent report. At least it's something that, or I'm unable to speak to that. But as I said, even to go by with your statement that according to the JIDA report, 25 million was paid to Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. And this person or the company is also making a claim that government owes him to a certain tune. The best way to solve it is for auditors to come in and do the reconciliation. And where there are issues as to whether payments were paid illegally or whether there was no value for money, we have strong institutions in this country and they can take the matter up. And you are referring to this 2016 Auditor General being commissioned to do this work?
Yes.
Okay. Have you made any... Oh, go ahead.
Because as it stands now, as an agency, with matters between 2013 and 2017, certain things were done without recourse to the agency. And that is why maybe in certain aspects I struggle to even answer certain questions with those issues which happened. But with respect to 2017 onwards, I can speak to matters before us.
Mr. Koduah, I think we can both agree from what the submissions you're making that there are a lot more answers to this arrangement than we have. There are lots more questions, pardon me, than we have answers.
With respect to what? Which time period? Is it with my time or before 2017 or 2017?
Well, I'm sure because to the average Ghanaian out there, it doesn't matter who was in power.
No, because at the end of the day, what I know is that prior to 2017, Auditor General was commissioned to investigate claims the service made by the service provider. And post 2017 is issues that happened during this tenure between 2017 up to date. Those ones is something I can rightly answer to. My previous one already it has been referred to Auditor General to work on it.
But the Auditor General told us in 2017, he wrote a letter that he could not certify the claims that had been made by Zoomlion. You saw this letter?
So if he cannot satisfy, then no payment should be made to him. It's very simple. So if the Auditor General is his position that he cannot satisfy that the work has been done or cannot satisfy that this is what has transpired, then therefore Auditor General has to be convinced in his mind that yes, there's a basis for us to make payment. Then he make payment.
Have you seen the Auditor General's letter?
Yes.
That he cannot certify the claims made by Zoomlion?
Yeah, because he needs certain information to work on it.
Have you made payments to Zoomlion post that letter?
As in after 2017, payments have been made on account based on 2017, but not in respect to issues concerning 2020 before 2017.
Okay, so we have paid Zoomlion post 2017.
Yes, based on those numbers that we have verified.
At what point did you verify those numbers?
Because we done several head counts.
Your head counts found 38,000 people.
Yes, so payments are made for 38,000 people.
When was this head count made?
We did one head count. In fact, we've done about 3 or 4 head counts. The last one was the one which was done by the Cabinet Subcommittee somewhere, I think last year, October. And we have even written to Zoomlion Ghana Limited on it to respond to on those issues that was raised by the agents.
Okay, so when you did the head count and you found 38,000 people, did you go back to Zoomlion to understand why they were making claims for 45,000?
Yes, we wrote back to them to explain to us, and their response was that in certain areas, people did not get the information. That in certain areas, according to them, our people arrived there late. And we also have stated that, well, there are records, payments will be made to the 38,000, and the remaining numbers, we have to be convinced and we have to bring documentation. And we have even submitted our total data to them to look at it. So for us, it stands now, they are making payments to only 38,000.
But did Zoomlion provide the payrolls and the names for these 45,000 people?
They have the data that they give to us to work on.
Did it include the payroll and the names of these
No,
persons?
we have not received the payroll, but they submitted to us a list of beneficiaries which they claim work under the sanitation model.
Okay, Mr. Koduah, are you satisfied with the relationship that we have had with this company?
To be honest with you, things have not been done right. And on the point of the agency, there was not a stronger mechanism of monitoring to check the work that the service provider was doing in the past.
Mr. Koduah, if you are not satisfied, why are we still paying them?
At the end of the day, if you listen critically to my submission this morning, there existed an arrangement in the past which was going on. And at the end of the day, when we came in, we shot the shortfalls and we have rectified most of them. But at the end of the day, we also have to go through the legal processes and make sure that the right thing is done. At the end of the day, you have to make sure that we go through the operational processes and make sure that the right thing is done. And before you can do all these things, you have to follow the due process and make sure that the right thing is also done. So so it is a position of David that one, the service provider has not worked and therefore he should not be paid. Or is the position that certain things were not right and needed to change? Or is the position that we should just open up for people to also come in?
Well, Mr. Koduah, if you're referring to me, my name is Daniel. And I really don't have a position on this matter. I just have questions.
Because these issues is one thing that I have discussed with one of your reporters, Manas. And I know this whole issue about sanitation is dear to him. At one point when he came to my office, I put that question to him: what is the issue? Is it that there's something against the service provider, or we feel that certain things are going on which is not right, which has to change? And per the arrangement and the parameters that we have put in place, have we done the right thing, or we have not done the right thing? Or you still feel that as it stands now, nothing has changed, there has not been any improvement, or we still feel that certain things happen in the past which is not right, so therefore let's look at it, and at the end of the day, let's just cancel the contract? I'm finding it difficult to understand.
So if I'm to understand, can I try and summarize what you are saying so that we are on the same page? So it's like the work that is being done is very important. So let's look at structuring the arrangements we have so that the work can be done.
Exactly so. And also making sure that we follow the due process. Because, as an agency, it would have been difficult just to come in and say, well, A, B, C, D existed in the past, therefore I've just cancelled the contract. And that will, in itself, will bring several legal issues to us. And as CEO, we make sure that we follow the due process. One, by writing to Attorney General for advice. And two, rectifying the problem that existed in the past where there was no documentation. Now there are documentation to everything that is being done. Also, we have put in place a monitoring mechanism to check the work that is being done, at least within the shortest period. And also, in the past, there was no collaboration between the agency and the assemblies. So how can a sensitive matter which borders on sanitation, which the district assemblies are supposed to be part as stakeholders, and there's no collaboration between these two agencies? Have you even stated that the YEA sanitation model, it is not the leading agency to address those sanitation issues? We are just complementing the effort of the assemblies. And we all have to work together as stakeholders and make sure that the right thing is done. To me, if certain things were done which was not right, if payments were made which was not right, which was illegal, which was even fraudulent, certain actions has to be taken to make sure that at least in going forward, always the right thing is done. But we cannot just say and sit back and complain while the problems exist.
Okay, let's speak of the right thing being done now. Let's speak of the right thing being done now. We had the Accra mayor in our studio the day before yesterday, and he says that he's had to hire 250 persons within Accra to do the very work that Zoomlion has been contracted to do. In Kumasi, the situation is that, and the information we have, is that over 300 people are employed to do the same work which we are paying these people to do.
When was that discussion had?
Oh, Tuesday.
Because if I recall, I was very unfortunate I'm not in the office, because the list and the scope of work that we asked from the assemblies, it came from the assemblies themselves to avoid duplication of work. In the past, this thing was not done. YEA will do their own recruitment, the service provider and the agents will do their own recruitment and ask people to work without even recourse to the assembly. There was no collaboration. And that's why I even stated that for the first time, it was the assembly that gave us the scope of work. So I'll be very surprised to hear that they are doing the same work. Then therefore maybe the assembly did not give us the right scope of work. Because in the scope of work, we indicated in the template that they are supposed to give us the areas that the people are going to work, and even the number of people who are going to work in that area. For instance, public places, marketplaces, and public roads. So those lists came from the assemblies. So I'll be very surprised to hear that.
Mr. Koduah, please hold on just a moment and take a listen to this for me.
On the street cleansing, that it falls on the lap of Zoom Lion, because on the streets of Accra, they have an arrangement with YEA. YEA pays them for cleaning the streets of Accra. We may have had issues with the street cleansing, because when the streets here it's dirty, it means that somebody might have not done the work. And oftentimes, because of these laps, the assemblies also recruit additional people also to do the stripping. Now, you and I pay central government. It's our money that is used to pay for some of these things, and that should be the thing to be done.
Do you hire persons to clean the streets besides the?
Yes, we do. We do, because I mean, when the streets, part of the street is dirty, you will not call a company YEA or Zoom Lion. You will call my assembly, and it will be on my head. So I also have to step in all the time. But they will also say they have their own concerns. But we are seeing
spending on that.
We spend quite, because I have more than 250 only in Ashiduketeke. That's around Mokola, Bukum, High Street, those areas. Additional staff of laborers of 250 that I have, that is complementing the effort of the street sweepers from the YEA Zoom Lion arrangement. And almost every assembly also does that to complement it. So
are they complementing their efforts, or they are doing their work for them?
Well, it could be. We are complementing, because they are also available.
Mr. Koduah, that was Mohammed Ejesoa speaking 2 days ago on the Super Morning Show.
And listening to what he said they are complementing the work of the agents. So I don't see where there is confusion.
He also said that he has written a letter to the YEA to tell them that they are unable to properly supervise the Zoom Lion workers because of the arrangements that is currently pertaining. He said that it's because of this lack that he is forced to let them to hire people to do the work. He said that.
There are several positions, and at least everybody is listening also. One.
Do you want me to play it again for you, Mr. Koduah?
Let me repeat, or let's analyze the whole statement. One, it is established that one, the agency and assemblies are complementing each other. And two, in the interview, he stated that he finds it difficult in trying to supervise or have an oversight of the work being done at the assemblies. Yes, the first one with respect to having an oversight. It is a problem that has existed for some time now, because the arrangement is between Youth Employment Agency and the service provider. And the issue is, what is the relationship between the service provider and the assemblies? And it is something that we are working on to make sure that at least the assemblies, being at the local level, should be able to also verify the work that has been done. And this instruction has been given to our district offices that even before we get reports from the assemblies, there should be a signature from our office certifying that the work has been done, and also being corroborated by the assemblies. That thing has been resolved now. Two, in terms of them corroborating with us, it's exactly so, because for the first time we sent our template to the assemblies to indicate the areas the beneficiaries are supposed to work, and of which they have sent to us. If you don't mind, you can even send your reporter to our office, and we can show it to you what was submitted to us by AMA. And that is why I'm saying that I'll be surprised currently to see that there is duplication of work. Because if, for instance, AMA has given us the areas the beneficiaries are supposed to work, I don't think AMA will go back to those areas that it has given to us for another beneficiary.
Mr. Koduah, have you seen that letter that Mr. Sowa wrote to your office?
With respect to what?
With respect to the fact that the beneficiaries, because of the supervision, are not doing the work they have been asked to do. Have you seen that letter?
It will be difficult to answer because I don't have the letter before me, or unless you can read it to me.
Okay. You see, we would have to move on, really. This was a letter that... This was a letter that Mohammed Sowa referred to when he came here. He told us that he has written to your office twice. He told us on Tuesday on this show.
He cited the letter.
Personally. Well, I had to take the mayor's word for it, couldn't I?
Oh, okay. So you've not cited the letter. Because that's why, because there are several correspondence between our agency and the assembly.
He has referred to the letter asking that the assemblies are given more oversight because currently the arrangements does not allow them to get the results they want, which is why he went into the point of how if the streets are dirty, he will have to hire more people. Because
the date of the letter is also very important. Because this new arrangement...
Mr. Koduah, have you seen the letter?
That's why I'm saying it's difficult to answer because I need to even look at the letter and see the date.
Okay, then let's move from the subjects then. Finally, Mr. Koduah, a number of these district assemblies have intimated to us that, like Accra is doing by hiring 250 people and like Kumasi is doing by hiring 300 people, they are able to themselves manage the cleaning of their streets, whether it's by hiring the same company or by doing it themselves or hiring another company. Have you considered that we should leave the cleaning of the cities to the people who manage the cities?
If it would be the best laudable idea, but in terms of implementation, there are difficulties. One, the assemblies have their own IGF to prosecute certain activities, but it has a limit. That is one. And two, when you talk about the YEA sanitation model, our funding is from District Assembly Common Fund. And the funds are paid in arrears. So it's something that we even discuss at a committee level to see if it's possible to even outsource this whole arrangement with the assembly. But the difficult aspect was how they were going to finance it. This thing has happened before. How about
Mr. Koduah? They finance it from their own allocations to the District Assembly Common Fund, which is what is deducted to pay the companies from source in the first place.
Yeah, but they are always in arrears. We have to get someone who, in the interim, will be able to pay.
Mr. Koduah, isn't every contractor paid in arrears in this country?
But you are talking about assemblies. You are talking about government institutions. You are talking about beneficiaries who are going to work, who have to be paid every month. We are talking about logistics that are needed to work. So is the assembly going to pay finances? If they will pay finances, then that would also be a good idea. So
Mr. Koduah, I've worked in the road industry before where road contractors often pre-finance their work. In fact, isn't that the basis for the financial sector?
Because at the end of the day, the road contractor who is pre-financing this is an individual company that can go to the bank and borrow. So let's us not compare the two. We are talking about assembly as a state institution. And at least even per your argument, you are even supporting what I'm saying. Because if road contractors can pay finances, then road contractor is an individual company. So therefore it means that individuals should be allowed to do it because there's an element of pay financing involved in it. For us as an agency, if indeed the assemblies have the interest that indeed they want to run the sanitation model, for us it will make our work very easy for us.
They haven't expressed that interest to you?
Yeah, we talked to some of them and they say no. Because at the end of the month, they even struggle to get the District Assembly Common Fund. That's not coming.
So all of them say no?
At least those that we engage with and at the committee level. And there's a precedent to it. At least you should also go back and check the records. In the past, this whole arrangement was being done by the assemblies. It was even the assemblies themselves which invited the service providers to come in because they were struggling to make payments and also get the logistics to work on it. So at least let's also investigate that one also. It started from the assemblies. This whole arrangement started with the assemblies. At the point in time, it was the assemblies which were forcing into private sectors to come in.
Mr. Koduah, I think we can agree that this conversation, we would need more time for you to come over so that we can brood over them a bit more.
I think that was what I was wishing for. I think that we get one day and discuss about the whole issue about the whole sanitation issue. Because as it stands now, there are several arrangements between service providers and assemblies and YEA. But you see, we are able to talk about YEA issues because since we took over office, we have done things transparently, and any time reporters have come to us, they have always painted the true picture to them.
And we appreciate that so much, Mr. Koduah. You know what? I think maybe we should hold on and speak. There's a man called Papaya Wasari. He will speak to you, please. So hold on. And then we'll arrange so that we have this conversation well in the studio. Okay, the questions coming in are so many. Thank you very much, Justin Koduah, for joining us. He's a Chief Executive of the Youth Employment Agency. It's 9:04 here on the Super Morning Show. I don't even know where to begin from in summarizing that conversation that we had. But basically, Mr. Koduah has said that they recognize that there were some anomalies in the contract between Ghana and Zoomlion Company Limited. They are not paying Zoomlion for the work they did pre-2017, which the Auditor General says they cannot certify. They are paying for the work that they have done post-2017, which, according to Mr. Koduah, they have restructured. Some of the restructuring includes going to do a head count to find that there are not 45,000 people out there, there are 38,000 people out there. And he says that there are more reforms coming in. The contract with Zoomlion has been extended from February 2019 for another 6 months, after which 6 months we are going to see other sanitation companies being introduced in that space. There are a number of things in there. I don't know where your mind is on it, but 0244340437 is the text and WhatsApp line. We'll be taking your messages, but when we come back, we take you to Dagbon. Stay with us.
So you wanted that weave.